Okay, so here we are on attempt number 2. Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened. There was a breakdown in my with my partners somehow, some way. We got set up on Webinar Jam for this webinar, which I don't know why. I thought I was really clear about not wanting to ever use it again. But somehow, some way, it got set up on the Webinar Jam, and I didn't realize that until just a moment ago. So I apologize for that, guys. Jeffrey should be coming on here in just a few moments. So just bear with me while we get this sorted out. You should be on any moment, guys. Just bear with me. I'm trying to chat with him on Skype. We've got quite a presentation for you guys today. This dude is a freaking beast when it comes to on-page SEO stuff. It's absolutely incredible. I'll just give you a little bit of backstory while we're waiting on him to come over. I started using the SEO Ultimate plugin recently, and he's the developer behind that. And let's make sure this is live. Sorry, guys. I'm just making sure that we're good. SEO Ultimate plugin recently. Yes, we're live. Okay. Anyways, I started using the SEO Ultimate plugin, and I started going through his training, the SEO Ultimate Plus plugin, which is the premium plugin. I started going through the training on how to use it because it's pretty advanced. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of features. It's way better than Yoast, in my opinion. And I started going through his training that he has like on his YouTube channel, and I was just absolutely blown away by the level of detail. This guy knows on-page architecture, like silo architecture and keyword clustering and stuff like that, better than anybody I know. And I know people have been asking us to do an on-page SEO course for years, and we haven't done it because we've covered it. Still can't get in the Hangouts yet. Shit. Sorry, guys. Close Chrome entirely, then reopen and try again. Anyways, let me continue on. So for about 2 years, people have been asking us to do an on-page SEO course, and we haven't done it only because we've covered it in various trainings, the mastermind, master class, stuff like that, where it's been part of another course where we, cover how to build out the sites with silo architecture, internal linking, keyword research, and that kind of thing. But when, we didn't have a specific product, set up just for on-page. And we've had it on the list to do of like to-do items for training products for a long time, but we just never got to it because of all the other projects we got going on. And so when I started going through SEO Ultimate Plus training about just 3 or 4 weeks ago, because I'm switching over. I'm using that plugin now instead of Yoast for all my SEO, for all my WordPress sites. When I started looking at that, I was like, oh, wow, this is really good. So I reached out to Jeffrey. I knew him from years ago, and he, he said, oh, man, by the way, I got this new course coming out for SEO Bootcamp, and I'd like for you to take a look at it. And I took a look at it, and I was absolutely floored with how good it was. And there's no reason for us to produce training when there's something that's this good out there. So I fully endorse it, and that's what he's going to be coming on to give a presentation about. He's going to be talking about on-page, keyword clustering, all that kind of stuff. So you'll get to see some of that throughout the presentation. And obviously there is going to be an offer at the end. Plus we're going to have some bonuses thrown in and that kind of stuff. So stick around if we can get it to work. Again, I apologize for this, guys. If he gets back in here in just a moment, I'm assuming he's closing Chrome right now and trying to get back on. If not, then we'll just have to reschedule. Here he comes now.
Okay, guys, how you doing?
Hot damn, man. I'm doing much better now.
God, man, it's that Murphy's Law
Are you sweating?
thing.
Are you sweating over there, Jeffrey?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. All right,
cool.
Now I'm a total noob when it comes to Google Hangouts too. So
yeah, well, listen, man, I'm going to take full ownership of the fact that the first 15 minutes or 10 minutes of this has been my fault or our fault because we had it set up on the wrong platform. So it's not you, it's us. All right. So with that said, let's not waste any more time, man. I want you to get, I've already kind of given an introduction to who you are, Jeffrey. And
okay.
I kind of gave a little bit of a backstory as to how I came about knowing what you're going to be presenting today and how I asked you specifically to put this together for our audience, because I think they're going to eat it up. So I think I've built you up big enough.
All right, man. Let me go ahead and make sure that I've got the right screen up. That's one of those things you got to do. Let me see. I'm going to go ahead and try to do my screen share.
Sure.
And make sure it's the right one. All right.
Okay, now I'm seeing your Google screen.
Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and start my presentation at this point.
All right. There you go.
Can you see the SEO bootcamp?
Yes, sir.
All right. Whew. Okay, so are we live?
All right, so we're at it. We're on into it now, guys. I'm going to turn the floor over to Jeffrey. Jeffrey, it's yours. I'll be here if you need me for anything. Otherwise, I'll just be kind of answering questions in the background as required.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. First and foremost, I want to say thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm really, really pleased to actually speak to the audience. So I want to make sure that I do one last thing. I need to turn off my Skype. Otherwise, it's going to drive me absolutely nuts. So if you just give me 1 second, that'll be great. All right. So most of you are completely familiar with on-page SEO basics, but really this is about fundamentals. And some of the things I'm going to be sharing today is really how to rank your website using topical relevance. And so the main thing about topical relevance is it's something that you should do. It's one of the first things you should do before you even think about doing any kind of off-page. So let me go ahead and jump back into my slides here. Okay, first of all, can you guys hear me?
Can hear you fine, yes.
Okay, perfect, perfect. All right, so the objective here is we're really going to show you how to rank your website using topical relevance.
Now,
and
Jeffrey, let me stop you, man. We're still seeing just the opening slide, SEO Bootcamp.
Yeah, that's what I'm having an issue here. It's that Murphy's Law thing.
Well, then select screen share again, and then try to find out of the application window tab. If you're in Chrome, you should see like two options, your entire screen or application window. And then from the application window tab, you should be able to select just the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay.
You're on the right track.
I do want to share this screen. All right. Yeah, man, this is definitely taxing.
Still seeing just that SEO Bootcamp slide, that first one.
All right. Let's try this again. Okay, I'm back on the screen share. Let's go for screen one.
There, now I'm seeing it in editor mode, PowerPoint. So that's you're a step in the right direction.
All right. Okay.
You can leave it just like that if you want, buddy. I don't think our audience cares.
All right. So basically, the goal is really to change the way that you think about SEO. And I've been doing this for about 20 years. And typically what I've found is that the foundation and the fundamentals are the most important thing that you do. And so a lot of it is 80% of the time, it's really how you choose your keywords. And we found that you can really leverage that for immense design. So I really would like to start this.
That's fine. Whatever makes you comfortable, man.
Okay. All right. So for whatever reason, guys, man, I'm really sorry. This is really sort of fumbling over here with this technology at this point.
It's not a problem.
So basically, I'm going to show you our process. I've been doing SEO for over 20 years, and we just learned a lot along the way. And basically, if you stay till the end, what I'm going to show you is a number of our clients, we actually are able to get them ranked without links. And so a couple of case studies. We're going to show you one where there's 500 plus keywords ranking that was all done from on-page SEO. And it was in a very competitive space. It's in real estate in Los Angeles. And at this time, the domain authority is only 13. And they're up against people like Zillow and Curbed and huge companies like that. So if you stay to the end, I'm definitely going to go ahead and share that with you. Now, one of the things we're really going to get into is what makes this different is really it's not about short-term gains. It's really about the space between your ears and how you approach your market differently. So we're going to be sharing a lot of battle-tested strategies, no fly-by-night fairy dust. Basically, we're going to focus on some fundamentals and show you how you can create things of that nature. So to summarize, it's really about, man, I'm really flubbing this up, guys. The screen is killing me. I really wanted to show you the other screen here. So
you want to, I mean, dude, hit the presenter button and then go select that window.
All right, let's try this.
Try it again. I mean, I can edit all this other crap out. So just, I apologize for all of you that are watching live. You're just going to have to bear with us for a moment or just wait till the replay.
Definitely. So I want to end the slideshow. Is there another way that I can actually just show this other window? That's really the problem here. Is that there's a lot of material, and I have another window open that I'm going to do some over-the-shoulder stuff with.
All right, let me
Yeah, this was the issue here. Is that I'm going to kill this.
Unbelievable. This is what happens live sometimes. So let's see. How do you show the slideshow without it showing your entire desktop?
That's the thing.
Yeah, because I'm looking at PowerPoint. See, I always put stuff in Google Slides when I'm doing a presentation because it just seems to work better. But
got it.
You didn't know that, so.
Well, the problem is right now, and I know this is definitely why we tried to log on before, but we had some issues with the other platform. So let me go back and see if I can just change the screen that I'm presenting on, because that would actually solve it. So screen share.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with PowerPoint, man, or I can't give you any guidance on how to make it. If it was slides, I could tell you, Google Slides, I could tell you what to do. That looks way better there.
Right. The issue is that it's not refreshing over there. It's sort of sticking with that one screen.
Yeah.
So that's the problem.
Yeah. All right, time for a beer.
Yeah, it's Miller time. All right, so basically, I'll just give you guys the backstory again. So started off in 1995. I actually invented a product. It's called the Drive Time Aromatherapy Diffuser. Spent a lot of time monkeying around with all different types of web applications trying to get it to work and to get some ranking factor with that. So we were talking about Dogpile, Go, Lycos, Hotbot. Google wasn't even in inception yet. We were fighting it out since the company name was Aaron. We were fighting out with the Aaron chair. So learned how to do SEO back then, literally took over the first 3 pages, was able to get that company some real traction. We ended up distributing to about 17 countries as a result of the on-page SEO efforts that we created. So basically, I was able to retire from that company for about 4 years, take some time off. And then in 2006, I came back and I created a company called SEO Design Solutions. Started blogging my behind off, created about 1,000 in-depth articles on all things SEO, and essentially got ranked for the keyword SEO in the number 4 position. Now, we're just trying to really expedite the process for our on-page SEO. So along the way, we actually created 2 products that you may be familiar with. The first one is SEO Ultimate. And at the time, there were only the only other real plugin that was out there that was doing this was the all-in-one SEO pack. And we just wanted to make things streamlined. So we started building our own plugin back at that time just to really expedite the process for our own teams to set things up. And then we ended up sharing that plugin with the WordPress community. And then, lo and behold, we got 2 million downloads. So that was one of them. And the other one, design framework. So it was a way that we could essentially, without having to go into a client site, because a lot of customers had different CMS systems, we could use WordPress, bolt on a site that looks just like theirs, and then automate all of the SEO like a beacon from that site. So that's really the way that we created those 2 products. And so, like I said, started from an actual, just a guy who had an idea and needed to get a company ranked and figured out a lot of stuff along the way. And lo and behold, we ended up getting into the SEO space for clients. And so before we go any further, it's really important to think about why. And so if you think about Neo and Morpheus and Trinity, when they go to meet the Merovingian in the Matrix Part 2, they went without why. And so as he so eloquently states, that the only real reason and source of power is why. So with that being said, let me tell you why I created this course.
Now, we're still just seeing how to rank your website using topical relevance slide.
Oh my goodness.
That's what I'm saying, man. You're going to have to show it in editor view or else we're not going to be able to see any changing. Somebody commented on the event page, if you press F5, it should advance the slide. I don't know if that, I've never used it, so I don't know.
Let's try this. Let's try this.
It hasn't done anything. So
yeah,
I think you're going to have to do the editor view, buddy. Sorry.
All right. Not a problem. You guys get to read my notes. So
that's
can you see the screen now?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I just wanted to make the analogy, talking about the Merovingian and how essentially Trinity, Neo, and Morpheus approached him without why. And so I just wanted to give you a backstory on essentially why I created this presentation and why I put this program together. the reality is, if you've got an idea, you need traction. And what I found is that, in most instances, SEO just is made way too complicated. So I wanted to demystify it and explain it in a way that anybody can understand. And so it's not always about having the right tools. It's about knowing how to use them and why you're going to use them that even matters. So we sort of created this process where it's very stackable and simple, where we essentially created 5 modules, which I'll share with you shortly, starting with keyword research and competitor analysis. After that, we focus on site architecture and how to integrate those keywords into your site architecture. The third thing we focus on is content structure and show you how to disambiguate your content, how to use competitors' cues to find the right modifiers and topics, and how to integrate that into your site. After that, we go into on-page SEO ops, which is really going to show you how to implement technical SEO. Many of you are familiar with that, but there's always a lot of tips and tricks. And it's one of those things where you're never really done learning. And if you think you are, then you're sort of fooling yourself. There's always something more to learn. So that's really the premise. And then after that, we're going to go into some off-page SEO ops, which you're already familiar with if you're using the syndication networks. And so done a lot of things right. I've already explained that I was able to rank for the actual keyword SEO in the number 4 position. And that took about 2 years to do that. We did that with all on-page SEO. And that's really where I came to the realization that topical relevance is paramount. And so what we found is that, as you know, any site that you start to create that has a lot of authority, in the beginning, it's like you're trying to appeal to the bots and the search engines to rank you. Well, after you cross that tipping point, I could actually publish an article, and within 11 minutes, it's ranking on the first page for something that had 4 million competing pages in Google, which would be, this is something that would take months to get ranked for. So the objective is at that point is like, stop focusing on off page, get your on page right, but also develop topical depth and topical breadth. And so that was the main thing. Did a lot of things wrong. So back when we started, we had about 700 test sites. I used to buy a lot of domains and had our own PBN network set up, and you sort of figure out what happens when you leave a footprint. So got smacked and figured out how to do penalty recovery and all that stuff. And also on the tip of learning how to do a lot of things wrong, I learned how to wreck a motorcycle at 120 miles an hour and survive. So I was actually out for a couple of years trying to recover from that. And that's why you were all wondering why the plugin wasn't updated or something like that. But long story short, that's another story. But, anytime you're going to learn, you're going to take some lumps. And that's what I was getting at here. Another thing, a lot of people have this notion that this is Google, that you have to run from it every time there's an algorithm, change or a shift. And so when you have topical authority, when you develop that, you really don't have to worry so much about algorithm shifts. It's really about, as long as your subject matter is really dialed in, you're hitting topical depth and topical breadth. This is really going to insulate you from a lot of those different types of penalties, which we'll get into here shortly. So the fact of the matter is that everybody has to start somewhere. And rather than focusing on short-term things, we're going to share with you some battle-tested strategies, and really hope you enjoy them. The idea is here that you could go out, light your beard on fire, start swinging an axe and killing everything, but that's really not the best way to approach your market. Ideally, this is the approach that we'd like you to take. It's far more effective for results. And so this time, you're in one of 2 places. You're either starting from scratch with a new site, or you already have a website and need to optimize it. So with that in mind, either way, you're going to expend energy. So which would you rather be at this point, a flashlight or a laser? Now, if you're just getting started, it's no secret that you should target things within reach. You start with your long tails. You work your way up to your mid-tail keywords, which we're going to show you in a bit. We're going to get into all those different tactics. And you also need to know what types of content you can use to leverage and build it out. If you have an existing website, and then basically we're going to show you a number of different strategies that you can use to either augment or consolidate your themes so that you can really be more powerful, like the laser beam analogy that we showed you above. And once we get through these slides, guys, like I said, we're going to go into some over-the-shoulder training. That's going to be the fun stuff. So I don't know about you, but I'm a chess player, or just share the analogy that I feel about chess and how that really works with SEO. So much like chess, essentially, one wrong move in the opening can cost you the mid game or the end game. And as you know, when you get to the first page, that's really where the challenge begins. It's not too difficult to get to the first page with many keywords unless you're targeting things that are several million competing pages. But once you get to the bottom of that first page, that's where the real battle begins. And that's where the power of your on-page and your topicality comes in. Just like SEO, chess it's like one thing. You have to focus on many fronts. You have to make sure that you have all the pieces working together so that you can actually create the common goal. Now you see this Black Knight right here fighting an entire army. It's not really going to work out really well for that guy. So you don't want to be this guy right here. And also you have to be realistic about where you're going to start and how you're trying to outrank your competition. You've got to know who you're up against, what kind of domain authority they have, what kind of, how many pages of content they've dedicated to each one of these keywords or topics, what their quality of the content is. And you have to use all of this essentially to formulate the proper strategy. So this sort of leads into the next slide. And this is really one of the main things, particularly when you have clients, they all want to rank for that big juicy keyword, but for every one of those phrases, there's a lot of things you have to do to get ranked. So it's all about targeting things within reach. And so if you're starting out, for example, it's better to stick with something that's 300,000 competing pages or less, and instead of targeting the larger phrases, because if you need to really build up the proper structure to create that referential integrity. And you can do that by website silo architecture, which we're going to be sharing with you, tactics. So the consideration is, the more rankings you want to topple, you need to find that pain in the market and find those modifiers that people are using to find that pain. And you can leverage those ranked pages to get ranked for questions and answers, for example. And every time you create a ranking with that, it's going to parlay into creating more authority for the site. So, don't delay. You can easily, capture dozens of long tail phrases rather easily. And as a result of that, it sends a very clear signal on it. And then you can scale. After that, you can basically use your site like a dynamo and start ranking other pages. The analogy we used before with chess, it's all about attacking on multiple keyword fronts. And you have to treat your keywords like, and your categories like pawns. You have to encapsulate the enemy or anyone who's trying to outrank you. Now, depending on how you target that pain, you want to find the best transactional keywords and know the difference between educational and transactional. You want to target all the modifiers and how well you leverage those questions and answers that people are asking for to drive traffic. So we'll show some tactics that we do with, inside of our training to showcase that. And we'll move along to one of the last slides here, which is before you attack, you need to get this right. So this is really what goes down is, as you all know, 80% of your time should literally be spent on keyword research, because if you're targeting the wrong phrases, it really doesn't matter. Site architecture, we found, is one of the most effective things that you can do to streamline ranking factors. So I know everybody likes to focus on off-page. I've been doing this for a long time. We really like to get that on-page dialed, and we found that just by creating that structure properly, you can create rankings even without links. And so, any questions so far?
I don't think so. Hold on a minute. Nope, just some comments, but no questions yet.
All right. I know it's pretty basic. We're going through the slides here, but so just to give you an idea of what this training is about, we're going to show people how to find the best keywords. We're going to go through how to structure the site architecture, how to write optimized content that ranks. Excuse me, guys. And then after that, we're going to show you how to create some schema, structure, markup, and things of that nature, internal linking. So I prefer to just go ahead. Now, I've sort of specified this. I sort of jumped ahead. But the idea here is that Market Recon is the first module, but it's really about finding the best keywords. This allows you to find on multiple fronts. And so some of the things that we teach, for example, are how to find the most relevant keywords and modifiers related search, how to leverage the power of the knowledge graph, and how to use questions found in the knowledge graph inside of your content. So we jump over here. I'm going to go ahead. All right. So you can see my screen.
Yes, sir. We see Google.
All right. So this is pretty much where it all starts. Let me just think of a keyword we're going to look for. So using the word modern homes, for example. Nothing about basically mining for relevant keywords here. So this is one of the first things we always suggest, to basically try to find phrases that have some type of commercial value. And so let's just see here. Actually, I should prefer to use another phrase. I think that in the training I was outlining something about insurance. So let's just use auto insurance, excuse me. Outside of auto insurance, you're going to find related searches, but you also want to find things that have commercial intent. So cheap auto insurance quotes, for example, would be one of those phrases. So from here, we dig in a little deeper. We'd also look at the questions that people also ask. And so there's ways that you can actually implement question and answer schema markup, where you're going to actually use questions in your content like this. And then when you add schema markup around those questions, it actually increases your chances of surfacing in the featured snippets in the Google results. So one of the first exercises we do is we ask people to go ahead, collect all these different modifiers, and then continue to drill into each and every one of these, making sure that you write them down and sort of collect as much data as possible, in addition to the questions that a person would be using to find or mine the pain in the market. Thus, what you would do is you would actually go to the first competitor, see what page they're ranking for. But there's also a number of ways you can do that. So let's let this open up here.
They got a terribly slow loading page, man.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Okay, so without getting into all the topical relevance, which we're going to get into a little later, they've got 69 deep links to the page. But here's an example of one of the things I wanted to show you. You know, for them to get ranked for this is great because they've actually done their homework. They built proper deep links. But this is actually showing up. This is a commercial keyword that's showing up in a question that's highly sought after, which is who has the cheapest car insurance. But one of the things you want to look at is, what did it take them to get ranked for that keyword? So if we just go ahead and create a new tab, :command, domain.com, whoever it is, then you can actually look at the phrase by typing in the keyword that you're looking at. So not rocket science, but this gives you the topical depth. So you need to put a space here. Right now, you can see that this is a modifier that's occurring. This is a very, deep authority site. They've got 5,100 instances of this keyword. Now, this could also be navigation, but typically it's going to show you in rank order here the different types of things that they're doing within their site. So you can see all the different modifiers they have here. They've got stuff. This is one of the phrases that's what I thought was funny. I was going to show you this a little later, but car insurance for college students. This is a perfect example of a long tail. You can see that DUI car insurance. So they've got numbers of instances. They're also using geographic modifiers. So they're targeting that root phrase by ball rolling all those different keywords. So right now, I mean, this is a really steep site. If you wanted to find out what their entire site was like, obviously just using the site : command, they've got 8,900 pages, but 5,100 of those pages are in some way, shape, or form incorporating that shingle cheap car insurance. And so
it's like 60% or more. Yeah, that's crazy.
Precisely. So that's just how they're essentially using this type of on-page relevancy. So that's one of the first things we suggest, but you can go back. This is a very simple exercise. You start with a root phrase. You find something that has commercial intent. You can go through and at that point, find the top ranking person for that keyword. Use that keyword using the site : command, put a space after it to find out how many shingles or how many pages they've dedicated to that topic. So that's just one little simple technique. We go back. Let's go here. I want to show you a couple other techniques that we use in Market Recon. A lot of you know that questions and answers are really big. So one of the tools, if you haven't seen it before, it's called Answer the Public. Great tool because it allows you to simply ask questions. And this is the kind of content, if you know the thresholds that you're looking at, this is the kind of thing that's really going to show you a way that you can. Just show you this real quick. It's pretty straightforward. Into your keyword, use your location. And as a result of that, it's going to show you all these different types of questions that people are asking. Now, this is where you essentially get your content that you're going to use to build out your supporting articles, your blog posts, your different types of social content, etc. So it's pretty straightforward. You can see how they've broken things into who, what, how, why, where, when. And if you are familiar with semantic entities and things of that nature, it's pretty much who, what, where, places, etc. So this also gives you a lot of really cool ideas. You know, can auto insurance be deducted on taxes? Can auto insurance companies deny coverage? So you can see just in the can or in the will. And if you go down, it'll actually show you a number of different modifiers you can use. So you've got, in this case, you can see the propositions and questions. There's a way you can just download it to CSV, which is really straightforward. And this is just a great place to mine new ideas. So let's go ahead and jump over here. And the objective is, you can see the questions and the propositions here. So this is something that you could actually write a blog post after. If you're going after the word auto insurance premiums, for example, a couple ways you can actually find out how competitive that is, okay? So if I were to just use quotation marks in Google, and then place this and hit return, you're going to find out how many competing pages you're up against. Now you see that that's not very competitive. So the way that we do this, there's competitive keyword thresholds you want to take in consideration. And so anything that's really 1 million competing pages or more should technically be a silo or a primary target or topic that you would then use to build out a site segment, a subdomain, a subfolder, if you will. Now, in this case, we're coming in, so 50,000 competing pages or less is typically things that you'd like to use for blog posts and ideas. You know, anything that's 50,000 to 300,000 competing pages, rank for right away, unless you have some authority. But if you're starting from scratch, this is where you can actually start to build relevance and authority. And so this would be the category, if you will, auto insurance premiums under auto insurance. But if I were to find out, you know, I was asking about that one particular question and where would it fit in the site architecture, you can really quickly determine that by just pasting that in quotation marks. You know, this is really basic stuff. It's not too complicated, but once again, it's really about how you put it together and understanding where things fit in the site architecture. This will really help you. So you can see that this is a keyword that has 4,000 competing pages in Google. This is literally something that you could topple. You could write this. You could use this kind of a question on a page. You could make this the topic of the article, or use it in sequence using something that's a little more preferred now, which would be using in-depth content. So if you looked at this as finding 10 questions about your primary topic that's about auto insurance premiums, which you could easily do if you simply just mine the data from looking at the different questions that we saw here. This also could be another thing where you're going to look for auto insurance premiums, and then you're going to use that first technique that we showed you, and then you're going to go back and drill into that alone. So let me go ahead and just type in auto insurance premiums again. And you're going to simply use Google to data mine itself. So right here, you've got additional questions that you can use to leverage in content. You can look at more related phrases here. And you can also use things like BuzzSumo if you're interested in finding, excuse me, 1 second. You can use things like BuzzSumo. Keyword, now my keyboard hit one of these crazy keys.
Oh shit.
Yeah, man, it's going in like narration mode. He's got,
oh no.
Pardon my French.
It's all right, man.
I don't know how to get it out of this. Are you serious? I literally cannot use my keyboard.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's like some kind of anybody know how to get out of narration mode, perhaps?
I'm gonna have to go Google it.
I wish I could. I can hit the back button. That's
yeah, right.
Oh,
how do you recover from narration mode? I don't even know what to ask.
Oh, gosh.
So the stars weren't lined up right today, buddy. I can tell you that.
It's all right. Murphy's Law.
Go to control panel, How to disable narrator? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's some kind of
Shit. Oh, here's Windows keyboard shortcuts for accessibility. Maybe that's what you're looking for, right?
Yes. That's. I think I hit that on accident. So.
Let's see. Open narrator settings. Windows key plus Control plus N.
Okay. So that. All right.
Gotta love a live webinar.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's not the right page, but let's see here.
Yeah, that's the only thing it's giving me on Windows 10 is that one Windows key, Control, and N. Here's another one. Let me find this one. Windows plus F. Type narrator in the start menu search box.
If you could type.
Yeah,
there we go. Thank you. That worked.
That was it. All right.
Thank God, man. Okay. All right. So, all right. Now I'd like to go back to where I was. I was going to BuzzSumo. All right. So I just want to show you guys. Oh, now this isn't working on the screen.
He just, Greg Dreber just said press caps lock plus, hold on, F, or Windows caps lock plus escape.
All right, let's try this. No dice.
I've never had that problem, thank God. Now that I know about it, it's going to happen, though.
I don't even know what I typed. It's not working, guys.
Yeah,
definitely not in the stars. Let's try this again. All right, over here I've got it. Yes. Go back to Firefox. It's not allowing it.
Can you open Chrome instead, or is that not possible?
Let's try.
I hate to make you switch again, but
that's all right. Let's just try this.
It's working there, buddy.
All right.
Firefox just doesn't like you, so there must be a narrator setting in Firefox.
Yeah, I think so. Something else is going on here. Yeah, it's doing something else, my friend. It's not even working.
Well, we could reschedule for another date, man, if we have to. It looks like we might.
I think we might have to, guys. I'm not just coming up with something. This is I literally am locked out of my system.
All right. Well, guys, he's locked out, and we apologize for the terrible mishap today with this webinar, obviously. And Jeffrey, don't feel bad, man. We screwed up to start with, so it's really our fault to begin with. So don't sweat it. We can reschedule. Do you want to talk just about the offer now for those that are still on? And I mean, we can go ahead and I know some people are going to be wanting to buy the product anyways. Sure. So let's just talk about that if you don't mind.
Okay. Well, hopefully I can still get to my slides over here. So if nothing else. So basically today, what I've done for you guys is typically the course goes for about $1,000. I did do a pre-launch before. But what I'm just going to do is actually throw in the 5-week online training, which is the course itself. But I was going to throw in a 20-site license of SEO Ultimate Plus. And so if you're an agency, you can actually get started with your clients using SEO Ultimate Plus. We actually have 17-step setup guide that's part of that whole site, which is SEOUltimatePlus.com. I'm going to throw in the SEO design framework, which also has a silo training course in there, 28 different skins. And so you can actually use the framework. It's an unlimited license to build out as many sites as you'd like. For the first 10 people, I was going to throw in an hour consultation. So if you got stuck somewhere along the way, then you could technically call me up or schedule a time. We could just walk through and make sure that you've got your settings set up the way you want, talk about site architecture, some on-page tips, getting some semantic stuff, whatever you wanted.
Dude, that's worth the price of admission right there, man.
Yeah, that was the idea.
That's crazy.
So I've got it set up over at the ultimateseobootcamp.com/semantic mastery. over there, then you could use support@ultimateseobootcamp.com, and I'll be standing by there. And I just really wish that this would have.
It's all right.
I don't know, man. It's
Jeffrey,
an interesting scenario.
We're gonna have you on again. We're gonna do a second attempt at this, and next time we'll have, you know, like I'll if you need some help or whatever, I'll help you get your PowerPoint and the Google Slides and all that, so it'll work much more smoothly. So it's okay. This was a practice run, and we apologize for any of you guys that are on that. You know, you either have to come back and watch it when we do the encore presentation, which will be much better, I promise, or just wait until we send out the replay. But I also want to talk about a quick bonus that we're going to throw in also. But and then Jeff, I'll let you go through the last couple slides too. But I just wanted to mention this. First of all, the SEO design framework, guys. I mentioned at the beginning of this while we were waiting for Jeffrey to come on that I switched over to using the SEO Ultimate Plus plugin now. From now on, for all my WordPress sites, no longer am I going to be using Yoast. It's a much better plugin.
Thank you.
Also, the SEO design framework going forward, that all my sites are going to be built on that too. In fact, I'm working on building a new agency right now. Some of you are probably already aware of that. And our new agency site is being built on that framework. And all subsequent sites for potentially any clients that come in are going to be built on that same framework, because it's so customizable, and it's so great for setting up siloed sites. And it's just really, really powerful. And so there's a bit of a learning curve for that, at least for me, because I'm not a web designer type guy. But again, it's such a powerful site or a powerful framework, excuse me, that I can't see wanting to use anything else, is my point. So,
well, I did have, let's see if I can actually jump over, since I was going to go through and walk through some of the stuff. You can see here, I won't be able to click anything, but I'll just show you. This is how the inside of the framework looks. And so we've actually broken things up into modules, much like the plugin. So this is where you actually implement your website silo architecture, for example. And so you can see that many of you are familiar with the Network Empire Silo plugin. That's actually was our design, and we shared that with them. And then they ended up doing some other things with it, creating the Video Silo plugin. But this was originally designed for our framework, so it's really straightforward and quick. They're essentially compatible. So if you built things out with Network Empire's plugin, you can actually use it here as well. It will recognize that because it uses the same core. You can see that you literally have the ability to implement silo architecture quickly and easily. In the SEO tab, we put all the settings for SEO Ultimate so that essentially it's seamless how it works together. All right. You have options, for example. Let's just go ahead and load this up so you can see how this works. So you have all your modules that are available. From here, you could jump into any one of your modules if you haven't used the plugin and really customize things, which also has a global and page level settings format. For the framework, you have global layout settings. And so this is the global area. So whatever you do here, unless you change the settings on the front end, then essentially you're going to have that on every page or post. But you also have the ability, say, for example, that you want to do a left sidebar, both sidebars, no sidebar, etc. on any of your other pages. You could overwrite any of the settings that you create at the local page level settings. This is where you can really go crazy with your styles. Now, instead of having to implement things in your style sheet, which you can do as well, because you can actually add code to your header, footer, etc. But you have all the things here. Now, our developer is extremely granular. So, I mean, it's built on Bootstrap. So it has all of the Bootstrap variables inside. So if you really want to get in there and tweak every little thing, you can do that too. Or you can simply leave the defaults in place and go to the next section and really customize that. You can create child themes with this. I mean, it's really ridiculous. So you can import all of your different, you can use your Google font families, set up your default typography. I'm just going to give you a couple examples. You can completely customize your navigation structures, your menu styling. You have different types of menus from sticky, default, overlay, fixed to top, etc. You can really get in there. It's extremely granular. So there's like 1,000 options inside of the admin. And that's what he was saying, that there is a learning curve, but once you get it, it's just like literally whatever you want to do. And if you don't want to, you don't have to touch a line of code to implement it.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it, because I mean, and again, there is a bit of a learning curve, but it's one of those things, guys, once you learn the framework and how to customize it, then you can repeat that over and over again. And you know, I've always used one particular theme developer for the last several years because it was just the one that I'd known, and I was comfortable, and I could build sites, you know, quickly with it. But
sure.
It was very limited in the capability, its functionality, whereas the SEO design framework is like almost unlimited. It's so customizable. It's crazy. It's awesome.
Absolutely. And I appreciate it. A couple guys have already purchased. They realize that, I told you how we're going to get some lumps every now and then. You learn the hard way not to set up your slides and all that stuff in advance. That was definitely on me. So, but yeah, just going back to the tools. I mean, this literally came from trial and error and basically trying to save time so that we didn't have to worry about, what our clients' sites could or couldn't do. Another thing that's really cool, I was going to show you guys when we got to the site architecture component of this, is that you really want to eliminate a lot of duplicity on your site architecture. And so things like, heavy sidebars or similar footprints in a header or footer can really leave a lot of, it's about creating more disambiguous topics. And what I mean by that is getting rid of all the noise. Green widgets should only have things about green widgets or things that are related to widgets. They shouldn't have everything. So in the framework, you have the ability to create as many navigation structures as you want. And then on a page-by-page level, you can actually show that navigation structure for any section that you're in. And so if you think about that, like if you look at Amazon, what I did is I dug into electronics, the electronics silo, but you see that they have deals, bestsellers, and things of that nature, but they also have all these computers, routers, etc. And if I go into computers and routers, then dynamically the navigation structure is going to change and become even more refined. And that's what you can do, is you can implement that type of granularity, and so that you're not creating it.
So you're talking about silo-specific menus that you can customize on a page or post level.
Precisely. And like I said, I won't be able to click, which creates a challenge in and of itself, but I can still show you what it would look like. If I were to do that, I would simply come down to, and this is the SEO Ultimate page level settings. And you can do a lot of cool stuff, like, you can do rel prev and next. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but there's a distinction between canonical tag and rel prev and next. And rel prev and next, it takes a series of documents. And if you've seen a paginated article where it might be spread across 5 pages, you can actually use the rel prev next option to consolidate that article. So this is one of the tactics that we talk about, is that you could create a 2,000, 5,000, 8,000 word article across an entire segment of your site. And then instead of treating it like a different document, you can use the rel prev next inside of SEO Ultimate Plus to essentially ball roll or daisy chain these articles together. And the way it works is wherever you start, you put the next URL in, and then you'll go to the, so if I started at number 1, well, then I would say that this is, number 2. And on the next page, I would say the previous page is 1, the next page is 3, so on and so forth. So, we get into, we have tutorials on how to set that type of markup up, but this is one of the things you can do. The distinction between this and a canonical tag is, when you use a canonical tag, it's essentially telling a search engine that I don't want any of these other pages to rank. I want to pass all the referential integrity to the URL that I want. But if you're using a variety of different long tails, say, for example, using questions and answers like we were talking about before, you can get all those questions and answers to rank so that each one of those pages is still indexed, but it would then Google would then determine if it wants to rank that individual page or the first page that's considered the head of the article, if you will. So this is a really powerful function that's inside of the plugin. But let's go ahead and go down to the framework, and so you can see how these things work together. If I went over to header structure, excuse me, the ability to turn my navigation off, I can pull from global, for example. But if I wanted to get custom navigation on this page, then I just would choose which custom navigation I would want for this page only. So extremely powerful stuff. You could also display a custom header, which means I could take away or put things where I wanted. Say I didn't want the slider, I'd simply drag it down here. I want to grab on this page and add another header block. And in my header block 2, I can use things like hide on or show on. So it's got really robust functionality. So if I were to look at the widget areas, let's just do that real quick. You could set up widgets that only show on certain pages. So let's just take that Amazon example a little further. I'm in a custom site segment. I've got my custom navigation, but say that I want to have custom, I could either create an unlimited sidebar and put that wherever I want it on the page. I could use that in short code format, or I could literally put it on the page inside of the builder, or I could literally go over here, and now how we showed you that there's header block 2, I could add something and say only show that on, you have the hide on or show on option. So you could say, I only want to show that on a certain page. So this is what I'm talking about granular options. It's overkill in most instances, but if you want to get something done and you really want to dial it in to make sure that you're sculpting on-page elements properly, this is the theme that you can actually do it with. So
yeah, it's super powerful because, guys, you can prevent bleeding your themes that way by keeping your silos really tight. And like he mentions, that includes header navigation, sidebar footer navigation, all those things that typically are those bleed your themes, guys. Think about it. So that's
exactly.
it's very important to try to compartmentalize that stuff, and that's how you really reinforce the relevancy of an entire silo.
Precisely. And then on top of that, you have we created our own drag and drop builder. We can actually just basically, it's pretty straightforward. You click the plus sign and you add what you want. So you can see here, we've got text blocks, video, embeds. If I wanted to add a custom widget, if I created a custom widget on another page, then what would happen is I would choose it from here. It would actually show up in my custom widget. So I could create a custom widget for a custom section. And in that custom widget, I could only show the navigation that I wanted. So really cool stuff like that, extremely granular.
Yes, sir.
All right.
And I forgot to mention the bonus that I was going to throw in. Guys, anybody that ends up picking up through from the webinar today or from the replay or whatever, just reach out to us at support@semanticmastery.com, and we're going to throw in the Content Kingpin, which is actually a Mastery PR product, but it's a $300 product, and it talks about how how to curate content and how to outsource content curation, which is perfect because I think it's a perfect complement for this, because one of the things you're going to want to do is start building out your content, adding depth to your silos, which is what he was talking about, breadth and depth, right? So go wide or go deep. Well, using curated content, you can add as much depth as you want to a particular silo. So the Content Kingpin course, we're going to throw that in as well.
Powerful. And we didn't even get to the on-page or off-page stuff, but yeah, the syndication network works hand in hand with that. You can even use that to boost your syndication networks. Yep. And so get those on autopilot and rinse and repeat.
Yes, sir.
So also for those of you who purchase, I will be going through, and I'll have to go ahead and send you some additional links to get the actual SEO Ultimate license, as well as I'll sign you up for the framework. So I look forward to trying this again when we don't have the Murphy's Law thing really looming. And I'll probably just do strictly, since this, the intro is what it is. I'm not really a slide guy. This took me like days to put the slides together.
Oh
I'd rather just show you some over the shoulder stuff and get into it like that. So
that's fine. Whatever you're comfortable with, man. I'd rather you be comfortable and give a good presentation. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, like I said, guys, I really appreciate the time. Wish it would have been a little different as far as the technology, but really grateful nonetheless. And look forward to the next one.
Just a couple questions real quick, Jeffrey, before we wrap it up. Sure. And then again, guys, all of you that had signed up originally through Webinar Jam, we're going to send out notification when we schedule the encore, and then we'll also send out. Actually, we probably won't send this version out as a replay. We'll wait until we do an encore.
That would be good.
It would take me too long to edit all this stuff out anyways.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. It's just
Muhammad had a question. He said, does SEO design framework work with any theme or a theme in itself? No, it's a
theme in itself.
Yeah.
So you can build themes with it. You can build your own child themes with it, or you can just use the global settings to pretty much customize what you want. And there's also an export function that allows you to, so you create a template that's perfect for you. Well, now you just export that. It just creates a little base 64 export, and you can copy and paste that into your next framework, and all of your settings will be there. Meaning that the look, feel, navigation, the way that you set up your global settings will all be there.
Yep. And Kendrick had a question. Can you clarify the difference between what had the 20 site license and what has unlimited build option?
The framework has the unlimited build option, and the SEO design, and the SEO Ultimate plugin has the 20 site license. There is a license for the plugin. The framework you can use on as many sites as you'd like.
Very good. We can still benefit if we don't use the theme, right? Yes, Mohammed. Obviously, the theme works hand in hand, but you can still apply the SEO Bootcamp training to any sort of theme that you want. It doesn't have to be the SEO design framework.
Correct. And that's just, we're just really showing you ways that you can leverage that. The framework was really built in such a way that it makes it extremely easy to implement the stuff that we're going to show you, but it can be done with anything. There's always a work.
Yeah. And you know what, Jeffy, you're right. It can be done with anything, but trust me, I know from, and I'm as well as you do, I'm sure, when you try to patch together advanced silo architecture into themes that aren't designed to support that kind of thing, it becomes a nightmare trying to set up custom menus using like widget logic and that kind of stuff. It's just a real pain in the ass. So
it is.
If you're going to be doing, advanced silo architecture, Mohammed, I would suggest that you learn the framework if you can, or hire somebody to do it. So.
Yeah, it's gonna save you a lot of time. And then if you harvest questions and answers, there's tools like Answer the Public. There's one of my favorites, which is Power Suggest Pro. You can use that with different modifiers and wildcards and get, just literally tackle the market with hundreds of questions at that point. Pop it in there, put it into a silo. Use the deep link juggernaut inside of SEO Ultimate. I was going to show you some of that stuff. Basically, you have the automatic linking option. And a lot of people say, "Oh, don't automatically link." Well, you do have the option. I just want to show you this really quick since we're over here. Inside of SEO Ultimate, to to rein it in, if you will. You don't have to use every instance. And so in the content link settings, what you can do is you can use a variety of different modifiers. So if you know that you're going to be targeting like the auto insurance or the word quotes or near me or something like that, and you integrate that into your content structure when you're building out your content, what you can do is you can simply say, don't use the same anchor text any more than one time per page or post, and don't link to the same destination any more than one time. And so then what happens is if you're creating content over here and you're saying this, we call this feature instant post propulsion. So for example, if you want, say that this was like auto insurance premiums was my page, and I just wanted the word, anytime the word premium was mentioned, the destination, and I would go down to the links tab right here, and I would simply type in the keywords, the various modifiers, if you will, that I want this page to rank for. And as a result of that, anytime that keyword were mentioned somewhere else, it would then link to this page. So you can, if you know that you're only going to be writing about certain topics in certain areas, you can use this to scope ranking factor as well. What I like to do is at least do the root phrase, plural variation, and maybe a couple of modifiers. And then by doing that, and then using that in tandem with the don't link to the same anchor text more than one time per page or post, you don't have multiple instances linking, but you also have that topical variety where you're not where you're not using the same anchor text over and over and over again. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can also go over here and you can actually globally decrease settings, and you can add a dampener so that basically next to each keyword. So if I save this and went back to the main settings, say there's a keyword that I don't want to have basically over optimized, I can literally set it like so. So you'll notice in my content link settings, you have this dampener. So basically, if I were to say 90%, then it would only link 10% of the time that it would have before. So I can literally really that it doesn't over optimize or link too many times internally within the site. So that's another thing you can do. It's another strategy we're going to share, where at least you could use some of your modifiers or your root phrases or your plural variations so that you're going to make sure that no matter what, somewhere in your content, you're going to get some link flow back to the pages that really need more emphasis.
Yeah. And that's really powerful too, because like you said, the pages that you end up ranking on page one, you can use those very strategically to link with internal links to other pages that you need to push some power or link equity over to, and you can rank other pages just from internal links, guys, if you've got your structure done correctly. So.
Absolutely. And I can even show you case in point to that. I wish I could do more, but I still can't use the let me see if I can find this. I was going to show you guys. Best LA Neighborhoods is the site that we actually built out, right? And so this is somebody who's in an extremely competitive space. Once again, it's real estate for Los Angeles. There were various nodes that we were looking at, modern homes, for example. They were looking for things to do and all these different types of things. Well, we settled on building out the modern homes, mid-century modern homes silo, really. And one of the things that we did, you can see here, is that we also focused on architects, the different architects, and we started to rank for keywords that were related to the different architects, like the Wong House, the different places. Now you'll see that at the top of page 2, that all the keywords that really are important to the business because they were considered within that cluster are now bubbling up. And this is a site that has a domain authority of 13. And if I just go back to the site here, I did include this. I was going to progressively move across. Let me see if I can find, here they are. So you'll notice that we kept a really sort of strict silo structure where we used mid-century modern. We did homes for sale, architecture, and decor and furniture. These were really the two that we focused on. Another thing that we did is we built out neighborhood pages for each one of them, where we included in-depth articles on each one of these pages.
Those are called geo pages, right?
These were they were geo for the neighborhood in this case, because Los Angeles is a big place.
Yeah.
And the third thing that we did is we actually used WordLift, which is a very powerful plugin that allows you to create your own triples, where essentially it leverages the knowledge graph. It uses linked data. For example, you see anything like this, it actually has the ability to curate this content from linked data, every one of these things. So you're essentially creating a Wikipedia effect within your site where you're actually creating triples. And then if you edit this content, the person actually added to it so that you're minimizing the footprint of duplicity so that it's considered unique. And as a result of that, anytime other phrases were mentioned, you have the ability to determine what other phrases you want to actually have marked up. So you can see that case study houses is one of the keywords they're ranking for. That's because we chose that in this case study houses content was actually curated as a result of that. And so we're curated. Every one of them has their own page. In addition to that, we actually optimize the MLS so that we use, when you see the difference between the curated content here and things that have links, if we were to go back to, if I went to mid-century modern, homes for sale, or any one of the neighborhood pages, for example, you'd see that if I go here, the MLS actually has hyperlinks. And so we use the topical breadth of every time you see any of these different properties over here. If I were to just find, let me just go ahead and go to a neighborhood and then say, look for things for sale in that neighborhood. So Atwater Village real estate. So we use relevant anchor text to go to the right place. And then we funneled that using canonical tags, and then really built up silo phrases for the neighborhoods. And you can see mid-century modern, architecture, etc., which resulted in these types of pages literally ranking by virtue of their own internal link structures. So
that's crazy.
That's where you're seeing all this stuff, where you're seeing all these different, this is ridiculous because these are all really great phrases.
Wow.
They're neighborhood based. And so all this happens basically from exactly what you said, Bradley, by how you leverage those term weights and how you leverage the on-page aspect. So we like to use, the internal link ratio of for every 100 words, use one link. So if you've got 1,000 words, you can have up to 10 inbound or 10 internal links from that page somewhere else. But if you've got a lot of link flow coming into that page, you can literally funnel that wherever you want. So, if, minimizing, removing links from a page makes each one of those stronger. So you want to make sure that you're just sculpting where that moves. And I've seen examples of websites, particularly in the legal industry back in the day, in case you're not familiar with it, but PDFs, they pool a lot of link flow. And so if you have PDFs in your site, one of the quickest ways to get those things to rank or to actually funnel that ranking factor somewhere else, to go back, edit them, make sure that you put internal links back to the pages that you want. And that's where you hit your silo pages with links that you can hit in PDFs. You can also do some stuff that's like the no index, follow, and hit those hard with links. And it doesn't leave a footprint because it's not technically indexed in Google, but it's like a sponge that just helps to rank, hundreds of pages.
Google knows it's there, guys. They just don't display it in the index.
Precisely. So
that's we've actually with off page we've experimented with no index PBNs and it still works. So
oh yeah, absolutely. And you can beat them up and they don't really leave a signal because they're not trying to rank. Therefore, it's not in the index. Hence, there's no penalty. So just keep that one under wraps, kind of thing. But yeah, there's powerful stuff, man. And so this is really just leveraging link flow in the site the right way. We did end up putting a syndication network, just where it was an IFTTT network from what you guys did on this site, just so that it can create some signals. I think there's about 170 links that came back to the site, but this was literally just as a result of the site itself, keeping the silos tight, using the neighborhoods, and then she was actually doing some blogging on top of that. So I suspect that this should hit page 1 for mid-century modern and architecture and as well as homes for sale and all of that, because it's on the move. And this is the time now. It's been online for about a year. We had to start from scratch. It was really jacked up. There was some stuff going on where somebody had used the silo plugin wrong. It was just a mess. There was like 60 or 70 different plugins. So we had to scrap the site, start from scratch, rebuild the site, get super specific on what silos we allowed and how it was all going to work, put it all together, and then just, let the site get indexed and played the waiting game. But like I said, it's been about 9 months to a year now, and there hasn't been any off-page link building. And it's, like I said, it's pushing up. If you were to Google the Wong House or anything like that, I'm sure I can't do it yet. Let me just see if I can go back to Chrome. Let's try this just to show you. Try this.
$60 or $70 plugins. What's that look like, man? I don't even want to know. Like, holy crap.
Yeah, it's still not letting me.
Oh, still not.
Yeah, the letter H is
that's weird.
The letter H is gone. So the Wong House, right? So this is what I was getting at. You've got things like LA Curve, but here's the client site. So here's what I'm getting at. These are all, massive. It's realtor.com. They're outranking Realtor, Pop Sugar, really strong sites. Take Sunset. These guys are killing it. But here's an example. Just this stuff really works. And so that's all I was getting at. And we've done this numerous times, 500 plus keywords, no backlinks. So it's really, that's the kind of thing that we're teaching. It's a linear process that we lay out inside of the SEO Bootcamp training, showing you how to look for all the different metrics. Like I said, it doesn't have to be ridiculously complicated, but it just shows you it's a stackable process. Start here, do this, create your in-depth content, pay attention to, like I said, this is really going back to site architecture. We spent a lot of time dialing this in, but now that you've done that, you can really compete with the 800-pound gorilla in the space. So,
yeah, because here's the thing, guys. This is why I really fully endorse this course, because we couldn't have created anything as in depth as this. And Jeffrey's absolutely right. If you're on site, your on page is done right, your structure's tight, your internal linking, your theme clustering or keyword clustering is done correctly, then you can rank with just a fraction of the off page that your competitors have to do.
Literally.
And, yeah, and it's incredible how, and sometimes you don't even need, you could just be from content marketing and syndication networks, and especially you add like a drive stack to it and that kind of stuff, guys. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I've always loved what you guys are doing, man. You guys are on the cutting edge. And so I just had my head down for the last few years, was focusing on the healing of that after that motorcycle wreck. But I'm sort of the little nerd who's behind the scenes, paying attention to things like this so that I can create tools that will just allow us to automate a lot of the stuff even quicker. So that's really the focus. I'm looking forward to rolling out some new things in SEO Ultimate Plus. That's going to allow for some really cool questions and answers, schema markup that you can implement on the fly for your pages. That's the next thing. It's all about surfacing in those featured snippets, because they technically are at the top of any search result. And if you can take that over, that's really going to prevent a lot of people from having to worry about the 6-pack or anything else. You're right there.
Not only that, but once you get those featured snippets, you start getting a ton of traffic, and that traffic alone will keep you ranked.
Exactly. That's signal. So, and you can do this, once again, targeting phrases that have very low competition. When we look back at the Answer the Public, if I just go back to that, this is an interesting challenge. It's like, hey, by the way, how would you do a webinar if you couldn't type? I'm like, well, thank God I have some tabs open. But the objective here is, it's interesting so far. I guess we're winging it. But you can see my point that these are all those types of questions. And we know that people are asking this stuff. Who are the largest auto insurance companies? Yep. So there's a lot of opportunity here. And if you're putting this with structured markup that's got the item prop that's saying, suggested question, suggested answer, and you're doing an in-depth article, you're integrating some kind of, you're linking out to the other authorities in the space to create co-citation. It's sort of like the Me Too, like, hey, by the way, we're an authority too. We link to you. So therefore we're considered in the same realm of influence. If you're using some kind of embedded content, or you're using either videos or tweets, things like that, that creates another, strong on-page relevancy signal. You're using the internal link structures. That if you've already selected at the top of that phrase, or the silo term for that keyword, like auto insurance, you're going to have all the modifiers rise up there. Once you start to rank for these long tails and mid tails, these are all equity, and all that equity bubbles up. So they're all going to start ranking each other. And before you know it, you've just created a ranking juggernaut by the way that you built your site. So,
yeah.
extremely powerful stuff, man.
I got a couple questions here for you, man, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Sure.
And then we'll schedule with you separately, Jeffrey, for another encore presentation where we get it right this time.
Yeah, I know.
Let's see. First one, does the SEO, this is from David. He says, does the SEO Ultimate automate the generation of schema?
No. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yes. It doesn't auto-generate, but you can do it. And so I'll show you how that works really quick. I should be able to go to a page or a post. What you'll notice is that over here under the general settings, you have an option where you can show rich snippet type. And then if you have like article, then you'll see all these elements will appear. So if you have local business, for example, you can create local business markup that validates by simply adding all the fields here.
That's great. You know what? I didn't even realize. I just started using your plugin and your framework again, man. And like, honestly, I didn't even realize that option was there.
Organization. So organization you want to use on your actual, on your like who we are, our about page. For the local businesses, you would want to use your local business markup on your homepage. If you had, if you're talking about the person who owns the business, you could actually include this. So if somebody Googled their name, you have all the different metrics and metadata that's relevant to them. So you could, show the right images. You could share all their social properties. So if you Google like Obama, for example, you'd see all of his information. That's the same type of markup they're using for a person. So you can do that yourself. You can mark up your products. You can do recipes, reviews, software, etc. So we've got 13 types of structured markup that you can implement that does validate in Google from just simply adding that to this tab. You can also customize the output for your open graph data for Facebook or Twitter or Google Plus independently. So you can actually split test different headlines and calls to action and then use the image that you want. And then once you set up your global settings over here inside of the Open Graph Plus module, and at the page level, so you don't have to continue to add that. So this will actually be your fallback option, and you can even determine what type of open graph type that you want for your business. So if you want to use website or product, or if it's a blog or whatever, you can do that here for your different post types. So you could say, my ads are this, my products are this type of markup, etc. And you can actually put your global defaults here as well for the different products. I'm sorry, for the different social properties such as Twitter and Google Plus. And then if you want, you can also go here and you can mass edit up to 100 at a time. We can grab, now we use an auto update feature. So if I started to type something in, which I can't at this time, it would find the appropriate image, but you can actually add your open graph data here in your title. And then it would allow you to essentially view or edit this page. So you could, instead of having to do it one at a time, you can actually mass edit. So cool stuff like that.
Very cool. All right, the next one.
I'd love to walk you guys through. I'll really get. I think, like I said, we'll just go for the over-the-shoulder stuff. We'll just go tactics only.
I think so. I think that would be good for the next one. So, just a couple more questions.
Sure.
Don says, "Does the SEO Ultimate plugin and theme work on multi-WordPress?"
The plugin, you'd have to use multiple licenses, one for each. We haven't really dialed that in yet because the APIs are an issue. It has, like, for example, if you have a multi-site installation, each installation essentially would have its own license. So I haven't really tried to use the framework on MU yet, so I can't say.
Yeah, I've never even used multi-WordPress, so I can't speak on that at all. Paul says, can you get into the off-page work you do? Paul, we'll save that one for the encore when we do the new version with Jeffrey. So just keep that question, Paul. And since you're on this list for this one, you'll get the replay once we record the second one, okay? And David, last one, he says, oh, well, this is just more of a comment. He says, by the way, I have a neighborhood indexed by state, city for the U.S., scraped from Zillow legally, if anyone is interested. Thanks, David. Appreciate that.
We'll be outranking it in no time anyways. It doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah. So that's it for questions, guys. Like I said, if go check out the offer if you're ready for that now. If not, wait, and we'll send out the notification when we schedule the next webinar where you can see more of what Jeffrey has to offer. I can tell you we fully endorse his training and these products. They're really, really good. And so, again, we couldn't have created any better of an SEO course than he's created. There's no doubt. I was blown away with the level of detail. So highly encourage you to pick it up. And we're going to throw in, well, you saw the bonuses that he threw in, which is crazy. An hour of his time for the first 10 is just amazing. That in itself is worth the cost. But also we're going to throw in Content Kingpin, because you're going to need content once you build these badass silos. So, all right.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. Well, thank you so much, guys. And really appreciate your time. Like I said, I guess with Murphy's Law, if it can happen, it will. So I learned the hard way. I will be on that call a half an hour in advance with everything ready to go, man. I'm just not going to take this chance again, but
awesome. Well, we appreciate you, man. And definitely we'll hook it up with you, and we'll get straight in the next week or so. All right.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Thanks everybody. Bye.
Take care. Goodbye.